All right, so listeners are thinking about AI jobs, right? And not just like the ones everyone's talking about now, but looking ahead to 2025, even further out.
Mhm.
Smart move, because from the stuff you send in articles, notes, the whole shebang seems like these jobs, they're going to be a whole different ballgame.
Oh, absolutely. That source you pulled, 10 top AI jobs in 2025, it really hit that nail on the head. They're not messing around with just, basic coding skills anymore. They want serious credentials.
No kidding. I mean, 77% needing a master's degree, that's intense. Way beyond what most tech jobs ask for, even now. So what's the deal with AI being so demanding, even though it still feels kind of new?
Well, think of it like this. AI is changing so rapidly. Like, even what we knew a year ago is old news now. Companies need folks who aren't just going to learn on the fly. They got to be ready to solve the really tough problems right from day one. Take, for instance, natural language processing, right? Huge breakthroughs lately, but that means how we interact with machines, it's a whole new world. You need someone who gets algorithms, machine learning, the deep stuff to even make use of those advancements.
Makes sense. It's not the coding itself, it's understanding what's going on behind it, right?
Uh-huh.
But then, this is what got me. They listed things like communication, even digital marketing, as key skills. I thought AI was all about, like, solo geniuses coding in the dark. How do those soft skills matter for, say, building a self-driving car? That doesn't compute for me.
Because no one's building a car alone, not a smart one. See, it's not just about programming the car to move, right? It's got to understand human drivers, a world full of them, all unpredictable. That means understanding behavior, maybe even psychology a little, to predict what those drivers will do. And to pull that off, you need a team. The sensor folks, data scientists analyzing roads, even ethicists thinking about the choices the AI makes.
Whoa, so it's like a whole orchestra, but instead of music, they're making this car that can think.
You got it.
Yeah.
And in that orchestra, you got to have people who can explain these super complex ideas to each other, manage teams without it all falling apart, even market this thing to people who are probably a little freaked out by robot cars, right? Those soft skills are not just nice to have, they're make or break for AI.
That really changes how you see these jobs, huh? It's not the lone wolf coder anymore. It's this whole interconnected thing. Okay, so we've established AI, crazy complex, changing super fast, needs a wider range of skills than people realize. But where are these folks actually working? Our source listed a bunch of industries, tech, obviously, but then finance, healthcare, retail,
Mm.
even things like manufacturing and cybersecurity. What is it about these specific areas that's attracting all this AI attention and money?
It's kind of funny, right? All those industries, they seem so different, but
Yeah.
they've got this one massive thing in common: data, mountains of it. And it's not enough to just collect it anymore. The real trick is making sense of it all. That's where AI comes in, like a super powered sorting machine.
So it's like they're sitting on a gold mine, all this data, but they need the AI equivalent of pickaxes and dynamite to actually get the good stuff out.
Yeah.
But what does that look like in action? I mean, AI doing this thing in finance, that's got to be different from, say, healthcare.
Oh, totally. Picture this. You're a bank, right? And you're trying to catch fraudsters. Every swipe, every online purchase, that's data. AI can scan through that stuff in real time, picking up on tiny patterns that might mean someone's up to no good. Stuff a human analyst, their eyes would glaze over, but the AI, it lives for that.
So it's like having like a million little robot detectives all working at once, never getting tired.
You got it. And healthcare, whole different ballgame, but same idea. Think about diagnosing someone from an x-ray. AI can spot those tiny anomalies, sometimes even earlier than a human doctor. And that early detection, that can be the difference between catching something early when it's treatable versus, well.
That's kind of mind-blowing. Gives doctors a whole new set of eyes, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing in retail, that's where we get those like eerily accurate shopping recommendations. Like, how did they know I wanted a waffle iron right now?
Exactly. That's AI looking at your past purchases, what you've clicked on, maybe even stuff you've liked on social media, and putting it all together to figure out what you might want before you even do. It's all about predicting your next move, in a way.
Wild. So AI is like this master of personalization, even in places you wouldn't expect. Okay, but let's get down to brass tacks here, the specific jobs making this stuff happen. Our source had that list, top 10 AI jobs of 2025. Let's break them down one by one. First up, AI product manager. Now, to me, that sounds like more than just launching the next iPhone, right? What makes landing an AI product different? And What are companies struggling to find in people for these roles? Especially with those salaries we saw $112,841 to $139,861.
Yeah.
That's serious business.
It's a tough job, no doubt. They're like the bridge between the tech geniuses and the suits with the money, you know. They got to understand how AI works, but also where the opportunities are, what people actually want, and then they got to wrangle the engineers to actually build it.
And so like translators almost, speaking both geek and business.
100%. And here's the kicker. AI is always changing, right? So
Mm.
they got to stay ahead of the curve, constantly learning new stuff. Not a job for someone who likes things to stay the same.
Sounds intense for
Yeah.
sure. Okay. Next up, AI research scientist. Our source is pretty clear. You want this job, you're probably going to need a PhD.
Yeah.
So what is it about this role that needs that level of brain power? And why the huge salary range, $136,000 all the way up to $225,000?
These are the folks on the cutting edge, you know? Not just using AI, but inventing the stuff that everyone else will be using in 5, 10 years. New algorithms, completely new ways of applying this tech. It's hardcore research.
So not just working with AI, but creating the AI of the future. Got it.
Right. And that takes serious theoretical chops, the ability to design experiments, analyze data like nobody's business, hence the PhD, and the salary. Depends on experience, what they specialize in, and frankly, whether they're willing to work for a company or stay in academia. Some of those research labs, they pay top dollar to get the best minds.
Makes sense. Okay, this next one's interesting, especially nowadays. The AI ethics officer. You don't hear about that in every industry, that's for sure. And that salary, $120,000 to $180,000, tells you it's getting important. What's the big deal with this role all of a sudden?
It's like, remember all those sci-fi movies where the robots take over? We're not quite there yet, but as AI gets smarter, we got to make sure it's being used for good, you know? That's where these folks come in.
So they're like the AI police, making sure nobody's building Skynet in their basement.
Kinda, yeah. They set the rules, make sure the AI being built is fair, unbiased, all that. They're asking the tough questions that maybe the engineers are too busy coding to think about.
Huh. A very 21st century problem to have, right?
Yeah.
Okay, from ethics to something a little more down to earth, at least seemingly. The cybersecurity analyst with AI expertise. I mean, cybersecurity is already a hot field, so what makes this specific role different? And why the extra cash, $120,000 to $200,000 according to our source?
Think of it like this. Used to be, protecting a computer system was like building a really strong wall, right? But now, the bad guys, they're using AI too. They're constantly probing, learning, changing their tactics.
No, it's like a digital arms race.
Yeah.
Both sides using AI to outsmart each other.
Bingo. And these analysts, they're the front line. They got to use AI to not just block attacks, but to predict them before they even happen.
Sounds stressful, but I guess that's why they get paid the big bucks. Okay, from protecting data to actually making sense of it visually, let's talk about the computer vision engineer. Our source called it the eyes of AI, and that covers everything from those self-driving cars we talked about to, like, facial recognition software. What's the deal with this field, and why is the salary range so wide? $125,000 to $226,000.
It's one of those fields with massive potential, but man, is it tough. You're basically trying to teach a computer to see the world like a human does. It's not just about processing images, it's about context, recognizing patterns, making judgment calls based on what it sees.
No wonder it pays well. That's like teaching a computer to think with its eyes, almost.
That's a good way to put it. And the applications are everywhere. Think about medical imaging, where AI is already helping doctors diagnose diseases earlier. Or even in, like, manufacturing, they use it to spot defects that a human would never catch.
It really shows you how much AI is changing things, huh? And we've talked a lot about the coding side, but this next one, the data scientist, that seems different. Our source made it sound like it's almost more about analysis than just banging out code.
So where do they fit in, these data scientists, with their $110,000 to $170,000 salaries?
Wow.
What are they doing that's so valuable?
They're like the Sherlock Holmes in the data world, you know? Except instead of solving crimes or solving business problems, but using data as their clues. They dig through all this information, looking for the patterns, the things that'll actually make the AI smarter.
So they're the ones finding the good stuff, the stuff the AI needs to actually learn. Exactly. And that takes serious skill. You got to know statistics, how to visualize data so it makes sense, plus all that machine learning stuff. Because if you feed the AI bad data, it's going to be useless, right? Garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
Makes sense. They're like the data chefs, making sure the AI gets a good meal, not just junk food. Okay, this next one's kind of out there. Smart home designer. Now, that's got to be more than just like picking out curtains, right? Our source listed it at $70,000 to $120,000, so clearly it's not just about making the place look pretty.
Oh, it's way more than that. These are the folks who are figuring out how to make AI feel invisible, seamlessly part of your life. They got to get both the tech and how people actually live.
So it's like part engineer, part interior decorator with a little bit of mind reader thrown in.
Exactly. They want your house to anticipate what you need, whether that's turning the lights on when you come home or maybe ordering more coffee beans before you even realize you're out. That's the dream, anyway.
Talk about making life easier. Speaking of which, let's talk about the AI customer experience specialist. Our source was all about making those chatbot things less annoying, which, honestly, sign me up for that.
Yeah.
Why is that role getting so much attention and that $70,000 to $120,000 salary range?
People are impatient, right?
Yeah.
We want answers now, and we want them personalized.
That's right.
AI can do that, but it's got to be done well. Nobody likes talking to a robot that sounds like, well, a robot.
That's where these specialists come in, right?
Yeah.
Make it feel human, even if it's not.
Yep. They're the ones making sure those interactions feel natural, actually helpful. They're analyzing all the data from those conversations, figuring out where people get frustrated, and then fixing it. Because a good chatbot, it's not just about answering questions, it's about building a relationship, even if it's a little creepy how well they know you.
It's true. The good ones, you almost forget you're not talking to a person. All right, let's move from the digital world to something a little more tangible. The robotics engineer. That's got to be a wild job. We're talking about actual robots here, not just lines of code. And that salary, $90,000 to $150,000, tells me it's serious stuff.
It's where the rubber meets the road, literally, in some cases. They're designing the hardware, the software, everything that goes into making a robot move, sense its environment, all that. It's mechanical engineering meets computer science in a big way.
So, like, they're building the bodies and the brains of these robots? That's incredible. What kind of stuff are these robots doing these days, by the way?
Oh man, everything. Manufacturing, obviously, but also healthcare, even exploring places humans can't go, like the deep sea or outer space. It's like something out of the Jetsons, but it's actually happening.
Wild. Okay, last but not least, we got to talk about the AI for healthcare specialist.
This one hits home for me. Bridging that gap between tech and medicine, that's got to be both incredibly challenging and super rewarding. And that $150,000 to $250,000 salary range, that tells you how important it's becoming.
It's one of those fields where you really feel like you're making a difference. They're the ones developing the AI that's going to help doctors diagnose diseases earlier, personalize treatments, maybe even cure things we thought were incurable.
That's like giving doctors a whole new set of tools, but tools that are constantly learning and getting better, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the possibilities, man, they're endless. They could change everything about how we think about healthcare.
Wow. Well, expert speaker, I got to say, this whole deep dive into the AI job market has been eye-opening. One thing's for sure. This AI wave, it's not just for the techies anymore. There's a place for everyone, no matter what your background is. So listener, as you're thinking about your own future, don't count yourself out. Maybe you're the one who's going to teach robots to think, or make sure AI is used for good, or even just design a smart home that makes life a little easier. Whatever it is, get out there, learn those skills, and who knows, maybe we'll be talking about your job on a future episode. Until then, keep those learning gears turning.